On Second Thought, episode 302, brought to you by Hookem.com, our good friends at Bud Light. I'm Cedric Golden, joined by Taylor's favorite duck. That is Kirk Ray Bohls, looking dapper in his light blue today. That's for the video audience. Duck, we're in the dog days of summer. Not a lot going on in the sports world. College baseball is going on, but thank God for the SEC and the Texas Longhorns entering their final year in the Big 12. In my opinion, Big Dog, they got to win it this year, or we need to just stop talking about them winning anything.
One last chance. I mean, it's hard to believe they've won, what is it, three titles?
Mm-hmm.
No, and what is this, 28 years? So, and they won the first one, 96. They shocked
It's like one a decade.
John Malkovich, shocked Nebraska, and Nebraska was headed to the national championship game, and then roll left came about, and Texas won it. So it'd be very symmetrical for Texas to bookend Big 12 titles.
Well, I just got back from Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and for all of you gamblers out there, it didn't go well for your boy. But thank goodness that Beverly Golden took care of a couple of slot machines, kept us in the mix.
You put it all in on Texas this fall?
That's what I was getting around to. I saw the futures. I saw the Horns are at like 9.5 wins over under for the regular season. I saw a 10-foot pole, and I still didn't use it to touch that bet because Texas, they can win 10 games, Doug, or they can win 8 games again.
Well, anybody can. I mean, where's your faith, though? I mean,
Faith. What
why
does
should
faith have? What does faith have to do with money? Either you think it's going to happen or you don't, or
so
you.
you think they're going to win nine or less? You going nine or less?
Right now, I got them at 9-3, Doug,
Who are they going to lose to?
which will be good enough to get them into the Big 12 championship game. That's what they want.
Will it?
Yeah. Think they're going to be on? You think there's going to be an 11-1 and a 10-2 in that conference?
Could be 10-2s.
Who besides Texas?
Well, K-State will probably be the co-favorite, I would think. With them coming back, I think they got their offensive line back, and
They don't have Deuce Vaughn back.
well, a lot of teams don't have their stars back. If you don't pick K-State, who are you going to pick? I mean, do you pick Oklahoma?
No,
The team that lost 49-0 to the
I
Horns?
don't believe in OU. I don't know that Brent Venables makes it to the SEC in 2024.
So what's the main reservation you have on this Texas team other than the last 20 years?
Haven't done it. They haven't done it.
The history. You're going
First
with
time,
history.
first time for everything. Sark hasn't done it
Well,
as
that's
a coach.
true.
As a coach, so I'm not. Am I saying they're not going to break through that door? No, I'm not saying it. But the first thing I'll say is they lost a generational talent in Bijan Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't just assume that Jadon Blue and who's the kid from Hallettsville,
Cedric Baxter, Jonathan Brooks,
Jay
Keelan
Brooks
Robinson.
and Keelan. We
Well,
can't
they
assume that they're just going to step in there and give them 2,000 yards, of offense, Duck, and that great leadership, I might add, occurring. And losing Bijan Robinson, we haven't written about it as much as probably we could have, but it's probably something that we're gonna address when we're at the Big 12 Media Days in Arlington in 3 or 4 weeks. But that's a pivotal reason for me. Turnover, um, losing that institutional knowledge on defense, losing Cook, Snacks, Agent Zero. Those are some big losses over there. And you can't just replace those guys overnight. And it was cool that we had Sark on to address that such thing. And for those of you who weren't there, didn't listen to that, here's what Sark had to say about that defense. I like how he called him out. I like how he called out Vernon Broad I like how he called out Alfred Collins. I like how he called out the young freshman Anthony Hill. Those are people that are going to have to be not above average, Doug, but really, really good if they're going to win a Big 12 title this season.
I don't know. I feel like you're a 10th full. I just, you're looking.
See, I don't bring that haterade. Don't bring that haterade on second thought, Doug. You want me? See, here's what you do. Here's what you do, Doug.
What do I do?
You try to put baby in a corner, is what you try to do.
You put yourself.
Ain't gonna be no dirty dancing today, Doug.
You put yourself in the corner.
I didn't put myself in the corner. I'm coming with real issues
for
a real football season.
All you mentioned was their warts. It's like they're the only team with warts and lost people. Do you want to look at who TCU lost? Quentin Johnston, Max Duggan, Kendra Miller. I mean, just go down the list of all.
I didn't pick TCU.
Yeah, I'll give you an idea. This is how down, at least on paper, the Big 12 is. Can you name a preseason all-conference player who's not on the Longhorns?
I can't go Will Howard.
There's no star power. All the star power it's going to be developed. Some people, I mean,
a lot of guys got drafted. A lot of guys got drafted. A lot of good players got drafted.
A lot of running backs are gone. I mean, you mentioned Deuce Vaughn and Bijan and Roshan, Kendra Miller. I mean, Richard Reese from Baylor. What was the guy's name? What was his name? Dean? What was his name? Devin Neal from Kansas? It's like, maybe he's an all-conference back. I got an Athlon magazine a couple weeks ago before I went to Destin, Florida, and they did their ratings for every position: quarterback, running back, tight end. Go down the list. Texas, they had Texas number one in every category. Every one, they were number one. So if they don't win, like I wrote in 9 Things this week, I guess it's coaching. If you got the best talent at every position.
When is the last time anyone won anything on paper?
Well, we like the Denver Nuggets. They look pretty good on paper. So I don't know. They still got to do it. We got to do it. And as far as that goes, do you think Sark is legitimately on the hot seat in 2023?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you see any way he wouldn't come back for 24?
I do. Well, 5-7, but they're not going to go 5-7. Here's something I know about our good friend Chris Del Conte, who ducked last week's podcast. I got several emails and tweets. People really, really like what CDC's putting down and our chemistry with him when we're talking. You can tell it's 3 guys that enjoy being around each other, even though there will be fights. We're gonna have some disagreements, but
plus he showed off his hairy legs, so I don't know.
He showed off his hairy legs, and that's why he put it on video. But the one thing that I'll say about CDC is he never gets caught unprepared. He's always a couple of steps ahead. CDC already has a list of guys.
Have to.
He might have to reach out to if Sark doesn't bring it. I don't think Sark's gonna soil the bed this season. I really think they're gonna be as good as we think. Now, do I think they're gonna be 10-2, 11-1? No,
You think they're gonna win 8 or 9?
No, I think they're gonna. No, I really believe they're gonna win 9. I wouldn't. But 8.
Are you picking them to win the Big 12 like I am?
Leaning toward it because the best team should be picked to win the Big 12, and they have the best team.
Right.
Will they figure it out? How many 31-17 leads did they blow last year, Doug? So those are the kind of things that just cannot happen if you're going to win the league. I mean, I give Bijan Robinson grace because he fumbled at Texas Tech, and I don't know if he ever fumbled again.
I don't think
that was an outlier. He doesn't fumble, and so. But Bijan Robinson had enough skin on the wall where you can go, okay, it happened, but it's Bijan. They wouldn't have won 4 games without Bijan Robinson. So I'm going to pick them to win the Big 12 because they're the best team. Do I think they're going to be 11-1? That's,
Maybe.
they always figure out how to lose a game that they shouldn't lose. And 10-2 won't shock me, Duck. But 11-1 would surprise me. It would.
Yeah, you'd have them losing to Alabama. You'd pick them to beat OU since they destroyed them 49-0. The two biggest sins of Steve Sarkisian last year, in my opinion, not giving the ball enough to Bijan Robinson, especially TCU game 12 carries. They had a field goal as their only offensive points. The second was sticking with Quinn Ewers through thick and thin and not going to Hudson Card at Oklahoma State. You were at the Oklahoma State game.
19 out of 49, Duck. 19 out
Probably
of 49.
the TCU game, he could have gone to Hudson Card, but there were 2 or 3 games, where, he could have gone to Hudson Card. All they need to do is win one more game because they beat Kansas State and they would have been in the Big 12 title game. So the margin wasn't that big.
A
So
very proven Hudson Card who saved their bacon at Texas Tech until Bijan fumbled. Hudson Card, where's he now? Purdue? Duck?
be the starter.
Hudson Card may not have known it at the time, but he set the table for other teams to approach him because they knew he wasn't going to be starting at Texas. And he whatever the word is, he put his tape out there, and what happened was he ended up in a nice place. So, I believe that Malik Willis is a quality quarterback. It's a small sample size, Duck. But if Quinn gets hurt or gets in trouble, I'll be really interested to see what happens with Malik Willis, because I don't think they're going to want to play the kid. And maybe they'll blow out enough opponents where Arch Manning will get a few snaps.
I don't think he gets any snap. I think Malik Murphy is the backup, and Malik Murphy will get snaps and needs to get snaps because he's got to have him ready if something happens at Alabama like it did last year.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How many games does Malik Willis start this year, Doc?
Oh, boy, that's always tough. I wouldn't be shocked if he started 1 or 2, but I think he needs to play in 5 or 6. You got to play him against Rice. You got to play him against Wyoming. And that's one thing, Fred Akers would do occasionally. He'd put him in the first half and put him in when the bullets are flying, when the action's hot.
The biggest
I don't know if we'll see Arch get on the field, but Malik Murphy should.
Did I say Willis?
Yeah.
Stupid.
I didn't know what
Malik Murphy, I'm sorry.
But he's, Malik Murphy's a talent.
Here's the thing. I think that the biggest failing of Mac Brown was playing Colt McCoy too much his senior year when they were blowing people out,
right?
When he could have gotten Garrett Gilbert some meaningful reps, just in case, and he didn't. And I talked to Colt over the weekend at his camp and getting ready for his 14th season in good spirits, but I'll never forget the look on Garrett Gilbert's face. Bob Ballou, one of our favorites, friend of the podcast,
right?
CBS sports editor, sports broadcaster. He asked Garrett Gilbert on media day in 2010 at the Rose Bowl, have you given any thought to what happens if Colt gets hurt?
Mm-hmm.
And Garrett Gilbert looked at Bob and goes, he chuckled.
Mm-hmm.
Freshman.
Yeah.
Chuckled, and he goes, well, let's hope it doesn't come to that.
But it's more than hope. Hope ain't a plan.
He wasn't ready.
Hope in the strategy. And like Hudson Card started 3 games after he got hurt, when Ewers got hurt. He won 2 of them. Could have won Texas Tech if Bijan didn't have that rare fumble in overtime. Could have beaten Alabama and gone 4-0 if Ryan Watts sacks Bryce Young, or they missed the field goal at the end of the game. So Hudson Card was this close to going 4-0 as a starter, but he trusted a erratic, inexperienced Quinn Ewers over Hudson Card. So you got to trust your talent, and it's your obligation to give them the best chance to win. So SEC schedule came out last week. What were your initial thoughts from that? Which was a huge, huge, huge show. It gathered a lot of interest. So, you like Texas schedule?
Yeah, I do. I think they kind of got off a lot easier
Easy?
than I thought. I was watching a Paul Feinbaum show, and that's another friend of the podcast. We both been on there in the last 3 weeks. Someone on the show goes, I think OU got thrown into an inferno, and someone just drew Texas a nice warm bath.
No, I disagree with that. Oh, I mean, look at Texas hosts Georgia, Florida, Kentucky. Kentucky team that's on the rise. And then they go to A&M. They go to Arkansas. They do go to Vandy and Mississippi State, and they go to Michigan. That's one of the toughest schedules in school history.
A tough schedule, Doug.
Whereas Oklahoma.
But here's the thing: we know that the SEC, and we'll get to OU in a minute. We know the SEC is a minefield.
Mm-hmm.
If you know you're playing Georgia, Florida, and Kentucky, the fact that you get them at the house, it's great. That's great.
Boy, no guarantees.
Great. But that trip to the big house is a big one. And that's not Michigan from 10 years ago when Harbaugh just was trying to figure it out. No, this is Michigan with real championship aspirations every year now.
8 wins over the Buckeyes.
Yeah. It's Michigan that just figured out how to beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
And so it's a rough schedule. It's navigable because they're playing at the house with their best games. And they're not afraid of Aggie. They've beaten Aggie in College Station. That's not a big deal to them. But it is the kind of schedule I look at it and I go, well, if they go 8-4, no one's going to say anything. Because you really expect them to go to the big house and win.
Yeah.
You really expect them to beat Kirby Smart here. Florida, not worried. Not worried. Florida's
not worried today.
Up and down Florida.
Don't know.
And down Florida.
Billy Napier is a good coach.
Napier is a really good coach, and he's saying all the right things. Billy's saying all the right things, but not as worried about Florida at the house. More worried about the big house. We're more worried about Ann Arbor and Kirby Smart coming in here on a real heater as a head coach.
And you forget the trip to Fayetteville. How'd that last trip go? That's a Super Bowl for the Razorbacks.
Is it? Is it? I think it's a Super Bowl for the fans. And you know what the fans
for the team. No, for the team.
These kids don't care.
Oh my God.
Their parents it's their grandparents that care.
Oh, it's in their
2023, and these kids don't know anything about. They've heard about the rivalry. You got to remember, a lot of the kids from Arkansas aren't from Arkansas, so they hear that, and everybody hates Texas anyway. So that's going to be enough to get them through. But
that's Texas.
54
Texas,
years.
their number one rival said. They haven't played
64 years since they played a meaningful game, Doug. Stop. 64 years. Stop.
Well, I totally disagree with you. And you're falling into the same trap I warned Sarkeesian. Like, you're going into a buzzsaw. You haven't played Arkansas but a couple times in 25 years, and they're still your number one rival. And if you polled 100 Arkansas fans, I bet you 98 of them would see Texas as their number one rival. I mean, it's their Super Bowl.
Even though you haven't been in the same conference with them.
That shows you the depth of the rivalry.
It's the Southwest Conference.
So it's a crusade over there.
Okay, well, all right, big dog. So of course they're not playing them this year. And I'm Mr. 11-1. I was like, are you gonna pick them in Fayetteville, big dog? Because I'm wondering about that.
Well, you're way putting that cart in front of the horse. I'm telling you. Let's just wait and see. So,
you may brought up Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma. They're hosting Alabama. They get the big dogs, and they host Tennessee with Josh Heupel coming back. And then they go to LSU, go to Auburn, and they got Missouri and I think Mississippi. But you get Alabama, that's pretty damn scary. And probably the ones with the best, easiest, it's all relative record, is those who Alabama doesn't play. And the Aggies don't play Alabama. Neither does Florida. Neither does Arkansas.
I
They
don't.
both.
Do the Aggies even play Georgia, Doug?
The Aggies, they don't play Georgia. They host LSU and Mississippi. Oh, they host LSU, Texas, Arkansas, and they go to Florida and Auburn.
Arkansas is
Yeah,
a Jerry World, right?
yeah. Well, yeah, I think it is. I don't know how many more years and if they'll switch that or not, but
Still, I
it'll
don't
be
know.
interesting. So, and I talked to Ross Bork, the A&M athletic director, Tuesday about when the dates will be released, and he said he hears in August, maybe September, so that we'll know if Aggie Texas game is on Thanksgiving week, which I sure hope
Let's
it is.
not. Let's not overdo this.
Do what?
Let's not get too. Let's not get away from what college football is all about.
Which is
They don't
rivalries.
need to be playing Aggie in September. Nobody. I mean, I'm glad that they're getting busy again. I can't wait. I'm gonna pull a Randy Riggs and I'm gonna get there 5 hours before kickoff.
You should
But
leave
I'm
now.
telling, yeah, I want to leave right now. Put that game on Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, let's get back to what's really important about college football. Thanksgiving weekend hasn't been sexy since 2011. It hasn't.
Yeah. And
It
it
hasn't.
hadn't been as sexy for college football because they've deferred to the NFL on Thanksgiving. I think maybe the Egg Bowl, maybe Thanksgiving night. But
Maybe.
by and large, that's an NFL. Isn't it a triple header now?
Yeah, see, the NFL added that third game. See,
Yeah.
they want Thanksgiving to be theirs. And
They'll
college
play
football
Texas
probably did
A&M
the
on
right
Friday.
thing. Friday
Yeah,
and
Friday would be great.
Saturday is wonderful. And I want that game back. And it needs to be back because it's part of the fabric of what makes college football great.
Yeah.
And
I love when they had the reveal, Cedric, and I got Del Conte on the phone. I said, when do you want to play him? He said, I don't care. We'll play him on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday. He just went right down the week, which is the old Longhorn swagger has been missing, from Texas. So I asked Ross Bork Tuesday, when do you want to play? You want to play Thanksgiving? He said, whatever works out the best. So he's
that's the thing. And I depending on who you ask, I mean, Del Conte reached out, wanted to play him 2 or 3 years ago. And
I know.
when I think it was Miami that wanted to move, was it one of those, Miami or Ohio State wanted to move a game? I think it was Ohio State wanted to move a game, and CDC reached out and they didn't want to do it. And
they're in the SEC.
for whatever reason, they're in the SEC. And that's not, I mean, Texas isn't Abilene Christian.
And they've had some heavy. They got
hold on.
Miami.
Let me. I'm talking about football. I'm not talking about basketball. Because Abilene Christian beat Texas in basketball. But
they've had tough games too. They got Miami. Remember a couple years ago they had Clemson. Remember they've had like 3 games against number 1 teams in the year. Clemson, I think Georgia and Alabama. So they play one heavyweight too. But boy, it'd be great to see it Thanksgiving week.
I think it might be. I think it's going to happen. And
I do too.
Now that they know they're playing each other, let's dispense with any pretense and don't waste that game in October.
Yeah,
Texas is already playing OU in October. That gives us something to look forward to. They get Michigan in September. You get OU in October, and you get Aggie in November. I think that would be wonderful. And then you get the Big 12 championship game in December.
Yeah. And then after Michigan year in 23, they got Ohio State back and forth in 24 and 25, home and away. And then Michigan again, they come to Austin, and after that. So, yeah, it's going to be a thing of beauty. So, speaking of the Big 12, Brett Yormark has talked about expansion. We've reached out to him to get him on the podcast, but he's ducking us, so he doesn't want to talk. I guess to anybody that even covers Texas, I guess. I don't know. Do you think it's going to survive and be here in 10 years, Cedric, the Big 12?
10, I don't know. 5, I think, yes, 5. 10,
yeah.
I don't know. The super conferences are coming, man. You think the SEC is done with 16? The SEC is going to be a 20-team conference.
God, I hope not.
It's going to be a 20-team conference. The Big 10 and the SEC are the big dogs. And what I believe, Doug, is the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are going to have to fight it out to see who survives to be that third conference. The Pac-12 losing USC and UCLA is that's a kill shot, and I think Oregon's not far behind. That's a kill shot, though. That's a kill
Yeah, I
shot.
don't know. I don't, if they wanted Oregon and Washington, why wouldn't they already take them? I don't know if they just think they want to wait and see how this works out. I guess with USC and
Well,
UCLA.
if the SEC expands again and poaches an ACC team or two, which
Yeah.
is very possible. I mean, you got some good programs. What if Clemson bails?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Then all
I'm just saying,
out
they're
war.
right there smack dab in SEC country anyway. So if Clemson bailed, and then you have to go, okay, Pac-12, you got to get busy because you don't really have besides Oregon, who do you have over there in football?
Well, Utah and coming on is
That's
Washington.
it.
That's
That's
about
it.
it.
And Washington, maybe. Washington looked good in the bowl game, but you lose two teams from California, and then Stanford's in a rebuilding phase. David Shaw's.
Oh, yeah,
So when you
definitely.
lose two teams from California, the biggest state in the contiguous U.S., then you got to figure out a way. And if you're the Pac-12, who do you bring aboard? That's the question. Do you try to poach Texas Tech and set up some games with those Arizona schools and Utah? I mean, travel wise, that's an easy call for Tech. But the
Mhm.
question is the Big 12 going to try to add a couple of more schools? Does Memphis make sense for the Big 12? That's a pretty good football program, Duck, and that's a nice TV market. Does Memphis make sense for the Big 12? I mean, there are other schools out there that the Big 12 might try to engage.
I just don't know how many eyeballs a Memphis would bring. I know Yormark's talked to Arizona and Colorado and has had feelers from them. I really think what should have happened, and you mentioned Clemson, and there's also Florida State and the ACC. Their grant of rights is through 2036, so they're locked into this TV deal that's an albatross, and that
Signs a grant of rights of 20
they're
years.
trying to get out of that, huh?
They're going to have the lawyers probably looking at that right now.
Oh,
It's going to
absolutely.
cost a pretty penny to get out from under that, Doc.
What I think they should do is the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC should somehow merge into two conferences. And then we have four major conferences. And half the Big 12 goes to the ACC, maybe half goes to the Pac-12. And see, if you had 16 in each conference, then you have 64 of the best programs. And those are the ones the fans want to see on TV anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I would see.
Well, that's some rough travel. That's some rough travel from coast to coast. If you're an ACC school, going over, having to travel all the way across country.
No, they would just go to the Texas schools or the Midwest.
So you're saying like the ACC schools would go, they would try to poach TCU,
Yeah, Houston,
Oklahoma
Texas
State,
Tech, yeah,
and
Oklahoma State, and then
Texas, Texas, Texas,
Pac-12.
Tech, Texas Tech would have to go to the Pac-12 because they're on
Sure.
they're on the extreme west
I
side of.
just think four conferences make a lot more sense than I don't want to see a 24 team SEC and a 24 team Big 12, Big 10, because those aren't really conferences. You don't really play each other that much. You would end up with, if you had 24, you'd probably end up with 2 12 team divisions and you might barely play the teams in the other. I'd just like to see some semblance of a more democratic situation and have four super conferences instead of just two. I think that would be healthier. Otherwise, you're going to bankrupt a lot of these athletic programs, and you're going to see the Olympic sports get dropped, a whole lot of other sports and coaching staffs, dismantled. I'd hate to see that.
And it's going to come down to the big football programs. They're going to survive whatever happens.
For sure.
But if you look at a team school like Kansas, which relies very heavily on basketball
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Big 12 football money, you wonder how Kansas would survive this. They don't have a T. Boone Pickens Foundation funneling money to them. So it's as great as they are in hoops, even Baylor, Doc, even Baylor, trying to build it in football, really great basketball school, but it's what happens in football, and that's they don't have 100,000 seat stadiums. That's revenue. That is revenue. 90,000 people coming to a Longhorn game playing a minimum of $80. It's like, was that like
Yeah,
$7 million
yeah, they're paying more
for
than
a home
that.
game? Yeah.
But you're right. There are a lot of them, like Boston College, Syracuse, uh, uh, Washington State, Oregon State. Those are the types of programs that could get left behind, and so it's just going to be fascinating to watch. In these next 5 years. Hey, before we go, I know we only got a few minutes left. Bradley Beal going to the Suns. Does that make them a power team in the West?
They make them fun to watch, but they don't have a bench yet. It's early, Doug. They're going to have to pick up a couple of free agents,
Yeah.
a couple of guys that solidify that bench because you know Kevin Durant's not going to play heavy minutes. He's gotten old. He's gotten old, and Bradley Beal's in his 30s, and Devin Booker's a young buck. But they need like 3 or 4 more proven bodies, some PJ Tucker types to come in and solidify that bench because they just don't have enough. I mean, the Lakers are deeper, but even the Lakers broke down at the end, so they need some help on the bench.
Yeah, they've got very little depth. I look at those top 3 players with the Beal trade. The Suns owe them $801 million over the life of them. So you got to have a lot of players working at the veteran minimum. Last thing, Dak Prescott ranked number 9th in NFL quarterbacks. Too high, too low, or is that about right?
I got him at 10. I think Kirk Cousins is better. People don't like Kirk Cousins, but right now he's better than Dak. There are guys that didn't make that list. Like I think Geno Smith might be better than Dak right now. Jared Goff threw one interception over the last 7 or 8 games. Those guys played better than Dak. Are they better? I'm not sure. But
Dak's not the same guy, is he? He's not the same quarterback
not since that surgery. He's not running around like he used to. He's not making plays off schedule. They had Aaron Rodgers. I think it's 7. Okay, yeah, okay. He's old, but
Yeah.
we can't agree that it's Mahomes. It's Mahomes. It's Joe Burrow. It's Josh Allen.
Right.
Those 3 guys are great, and I love me some Justin Herbert as well.
Oh yeah, it's just great with young great quarterbacks all over the place. So, well, hey, let's put a bow on this. I'm on vacation the next 2 weeks.
Oh man, he's getting out of here. Where you going, big dog? Where you
I'm
going?
gonna go down to the beach, take the fam to the beach, and see if I can get a nice, good sunburn, and have fun with the grandsons, Brewer and Ford. So we won't be doing the podcast for the next couple of weeks, and then we got Big 12 Media Days, and I'm going to SEC Media Days with Thomas Jones. So
we're going to reconvene. We're going to reconvene in 3 weeks, and by the time we reconvene, it's basically going to be football season, Doc.
It'll be upon us.
It's going to be upon us. That will do it for episode 302 of On Second Thought. As usual, we so appreciate you guys hanging out with us from week to week. We are the best sports podcast in the state of Texas, and I don't care what anyone says. Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes it hurts. But we will be back in 3 weeks. Duck, be safe on vacation, and I will see you when you get back, brother.
Be safe, guys.